Welcome back, YouTube. This little video is going over the Bosch 550 injectors that everyone's been talking about in the Fiat 500 community, and I wanted to just go ahead and give you guys some of my experience with that. And so I'll start off by saying I have been on the phone, email, and messaging with multiple companies, and even with the Bosch company out in Germany, and gotten a lot of information from each company. So um, I'll just start off with, I start looking at a lot of these injectors, and I was wondering if there was a better way to get a hold of these injectors. And so I started looking up on a lot of these websites, and a lot of the vendors had these ATP E85 injectors, and I was like, those, all the pictures show that they're short tip, or standard tip is what they call it. And I was like, but these injectors our cars use are the extended tip. And I'm like, well, like, how is that possible? Everyone's telling me I need these extended tip. So I was like, okay, well, let me ask the people that make them and see. So I contacted Bosch, and what they had to say was that they make all sorts of different tips for all sorts of different platforms, and a lot of them are compatible and interchangeable. And that's pretty much all they had to say about that. And they're like, well, if you have any other questions or need to source these injectors, then to just reach out to some of the vendors that the approved vendors that sell them, and ask them for pictures and other information as far as that goes. They did give me the CCs and all that to verify that they were indeed 550 CCs via the part number. So so then I reached out to ATP and got a hold of them, and I compared pictures. I compared my OEM injectors versus those, and what they said was that they said that they can't verify if they just use Bosch injectors and just rebrand them. However, he said that what he can say is that their injectors are 525 cc, and that they indeed do look like the standard tip Bosch injectors, the same ones that everyone keeps posting the part number on. And they said that they have been running these same injectors and selling them for a couple years now, and have no issues running E85 with the short tip or standard tip on the Fiat. So with that said, I was kind of confused. I was like, well, then why is everyone saying that you can't run these injectors if you have to have these extended tips like the OEM ones? And so I start reaching out to some of the more popular known vendors that we have, like John at Torque and Robert over at Diecourse, and I got some information from them. So Robert, he said that, or Zeka, as most of you know, he said that they sell the short tip, same part number, same everything as the 550s. He said that they've been running those and selling them for E85 in their 550s with no issues, no returns, no complaints. And he also said that if you're wanting to just run fuel but you want bigger injectors, he sells another set that are 390 cc, which is more than enough for a lot of people. And he sent me pictures and everything, showing me, and they also sell the extended tips. So I was like, okay, cool. So then I got a hold of John, and I asked John for some pictures of the extended tip ATP versions, but I wasn't able to get my hands on any of those to compare. But one thing that he said was that the short tips possibly may work, and I asked him if he could verify that the ones he sells are short tips, and he told me that the ATP versions that he sells for the E85 drop-ins are indeed extended tips, and ATP told me that the only ones they sell are the short tips. So I don't know if John may have worked with ATP and got his hands on the extended tip version from ATP, that maybe it's exclusive to him. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. But I do know that Bosch said that they make all sorts of lengths and tips of these injectors. So I mean, it's a possibility. And I know a lot of concern was the pricing, but a lot of the vendors, they're selling these injectors for a reasonable price. I mean, if you look on AutoZone, or if you pull that part number up on O'Reilly's, you're looking at roughly about $92 a piece per injector and their special orders, and that's going to put you up into the almost $400 range anyways. So if you're going to pay that, you might as well support a vendor, in my opinion. But there's also a company that they sell these injectors for $200 a set. I have never purchased anything from the Eurotuners website, but if anyone has, I mean, feel free to leave a comment on this video, because I don't have experience with them. I assume that they would be selling genuine injectors, but I don't know. You have to take that with a grain of salt, because I don't have much information as far as that company goes. I personally found someone that had a set of these injectors that they were going to use on their Volkswagen, but they had engine failure, so they didn't need them anymore, and I picked them up for $100, and I mean, they work fine. I run 93 on them right now with a tune revision, and then when I get my bigger turbo set up, all the parts in, then I'm going to run E85 with them. Going back to John over at Torque, I can tell you that if you are wanting larger injectors and you plan to go big turbo or do these T-jet swaps and make more power, I can tell you that you will want to talk to John and get a good set of extended tip injectors, because where you're going to run into issues with the short injectors and the injectors pulling up in the intake manifold, since these are long tube runners, then you're going to run into that when you start throwing in your T-jet and start hitting those higher horsepower numbers above 300. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these injectors to run this big turbo and see if we run into any tuning issues. And if not, I mean, I'll keep you guys posted. But if so, then I know I'll have to invest with John and get an extended tip injector set. I can't guarantee any of that right now, because I don't know. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing is I'm trial and error. I mean, I'm spending the money. I'm gonna see if they work. If they do, great. If they don't, then I mean, there's options out there. I mean, any injector that John sells, the higher the CC, they're all going to be E85 capable, because they're going to have that flow rate that you need, because that's what an E85 injector is. John explained that to me, that an E85 injector is not a E85 solely injector. It means that it runs, it's able to flow more than your OEM injector and your standard injector. So basically what it boils down to is that any of the larger 30% or higher injectors over stock are going to be sufficient enough to run E85. Apparently our pumps in our cars versus some other cars, which is different, is our pumps are able to keep up with the flow of E85 and the output. So that's a plus. But if you need or you want that peace of mind, I would suggest not doing what I did and going with the short tips, even though I don't plan to go above 250. I mean, depending on how this turbo works out, since I had it custom made, and the parts that I have and the tune, if I hit anywhere between 240 to 280, I mean, I'll be happy. I'm just going to keep it right there. But for the other guys running the T-Jets, wanting to do the big turbos, and wanting to really push these cars, throwing in forged internals and all that, then I would highly suggest you just go ahead and stick with the extended tips. Now, one thing I would highly advise against is to make a purchase off of eBay. I have reached out to some of these eBay sellers, and I have found that many of them are not authorized dealers, and you can verify that they are authorized Bosch dealers. Just get their business name and location, and send Bosch an email, and they'll verify it for you. Some of those sellers, they're like, oh yeah, we're genuine Bosch dealers, and they showed me paperwork, and it looked legit. However, all of it, their parts, their paperwork, everything, it's all counterfeit. Not saying that you can't find someone on there that is an authorized dealer who sells on eBay too. I know that some companies, if you're an authorized dealer, they keep you from selling on eBay, but I don't know if Bosch does. So that's a risk that you run if you purchase off of eBay, and you might spend $200 on these injectors, and then realize that that when you go to start tuning, that the tuning's all over the place, and you start running into different issues with fueling. And a lot of that might be because you bought counterfeit injectors. And it makes a difference when it comes to tuning. And hopefully you guys don't purchase off eBay and then turn around and blame the tuners, since that's a common thing in the car community, is to have your car not run right and turn around and blame the tuner. It's always blame the tuner. So let's not do that. These tuners, they really do, whether you choose this company or that company, doesn't matter. They all tune their ways. Some are more efficient. Some may have more knowledge, but I mean, as long as you stick with one of the vendors that we have in the Fiat community, I mean, you're going to get a decent tune. It might not be the best of the best, but you're going to get an okay tune. I personally stick with John because I've had nothing but great results from him. So, I mean, I'm more than pleased with John's tunes. My car runs great. I have no issues. Anything that might pop up, how my car tune related might be acting out, then we talk about it. He makes the change, and the car runs great again. You do the data logging, you do that, and he'll get you hooked right back up. So basically, all in all, is that if you want to run these 550 injectors from Bosch, you can, and they will work. If you run regular fuel, then you're going to need a retune because it's going to run rich. If you want to run E85, you can do that too. I can't guarantee that that you can run them and not have an issue, because ATP said that theirs are 525 injectors and these are 550. They might work. I mean, one of you guys can try it and see if you want, and let everyone know. But that's everything in a nutshell that I have that I've come up with. This video helps you guys kind of understand a little bit of what I've been digging up and going through, and I kind of understand a lot more about the standard length tip injectors and the extended tip. And if I had to give advice now, I would say that if you want to play it safe and not spend $400 a pop on injectors, to just go ahead and hit John up and get the extended tip injectors. And he has all sorts. If you want 300, 500, 600, whatever injectors, he has all kinds of them. But I do know that these motors and intake runners are definitely designed for extended tip, and I would advise that if you want to play it safe, go ahead and get the extended tip and not have to worry about running into an issue down the road. However, what I'm doing now is kind of just seeing if it's going to work out. If it does, then so be it. My big turbo will be here next week, and I'm waiting on parts to ship from the dealer for to install. I'm replacing everything: intake manifold, gaskets, all the studs, all the washers, all that stuff. Waiting on my parts to get here to Cerakote the exhaust manifold. I'm going to be porting it myself. I got all those parts. I got the ARP studs for the exhaust manifold to turbo. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. I'll keep you guys entertained on my journey, goods or bads. I'll just try to keep it as transparent as I can, and try to provide what I can to the community. I'm not the best. I'm not the smartest with the Fiat. I've had previous builds like my Caliber SRT4 dynoed at 559 horsepower, and I did that with the help of the community, just like our Fiat community. I mean, we got good people, we got good vendors, so let's not get out to where we're bashing each other or bashing our vendors. If they suck, they suck. If most of the community has problems with vendors, then I mean they shouldn't be a vendor anymore. But if they're good at what they do, and you got ones and twos that have issues, then I challenge you to do a little bit of your homework and look into those people that have the issues, because I personally have looked into a couple of the people that were bashing Torque recently and bashing a couple other vendors, and it turns out that that those guys probably shouldn't have been even messing with a car, let alone trying to act like they knew what they were talking about tuning. So with the help of the community, I reached out, and it turns out that like, for example, one guy, he had a ton of issues with this car, and he couldn't figure it out. So what's he do? He gets a tune and puts it on his car, and when it doesn't run right, oh, it's the tuner's fault. Like, bro, the community tried to help you with your car before, and you're all fucked up. So it's like how do you expect something that has a bad foundation to have a positive outcome and be successful when you're building on sand? You know, it's like it defies logic. And there's a lot of people out there that they don't have logic, they don't have common sense, and they have no reason to be working on cars at all other than snapping on an intake or putting gas in it. I mean, I would say changing the oil, but quite a few of them can't even change their own oil. You'll find posts where they're asking what's the best place to get their oil changed. So either way, take my advice with a grain of salt. And if you plan to try out these 550 injectors, then go ahead and feel free to do that. But just know that if you are looking into bigger horsepower, T-jet swaps and all that, that you might want to just go ahead and do the extended tip injectors. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message or email or anything like that. So just let me know. If you like this video, I mean, feel free to like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing more Fiat content as I have in the past. And until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and Semper Fi.